Welcome to our 34th episode of Black Dance Stories. Here's a note about why all these beautiful people on your screen are here. Our dance world was pummeled by COVID-19, and Black dance artists are finding ways to talk about life during this time. Our world was further turned upside down after horrible events ensued nationally and globally, bringing attention yet again to the need for the Black Lives Matter movement. Black dance artists have not been quiet. Black dance artists have been doing the work. Black dance artists continue to make work. To stay involved, we hold these weekly impromptu discussions and tell stories. Black dance stories. This is one action, and we will stay involved. We, all of these beautiful faces right here today, and as long as we can, will stay as a community working together to support, uphold, highlight, and celebrate Black creatives. Tonight is our 34th episode of what we hope will be many stories told in the artist's own voices. Tonight, it's Robert Battle and Angie Pittman's turn. Please meet our BDS family. I will go first. I am Charmaine Warren. I am a light-skinned Jamaican. I am the great-granddaughter of Ida Boyd, granddaughter of Solomon Golson and Ruby Chapman, and one of 9 children by Theophilus Warren and my 95-year-old mother, Pearline Warren, who lives in Jamaica. I am a non-disabled Black woman. Now and forever, I promise to acknowledge those who came before me and have toiled to make it possible for me to be present on this land. Today, I give homage to the Native people by acknowledging that I live on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people, now known as Montclair, New Jersey, with my husband, Tony Turner. Our daughter, Ashay Turner, a Black ballerina with locks, is in her junior year at Boston Conservatory. I have locks that are on top of my head and that fall to my shoulders. I'm wearing a beige sweater and large red and beige earrings. Behind me are photos of our family, a large plant, a lamp, and African masks. Happy Black Dance Stories Thursday, BDS family. Thank you for showing up, believing in our team, and for your unyielding support. We love you.
Yes.
I pass it on to Kimani.
Thank you, Charmaine. Welcome, y'all. In the words of Gloria Grimes, delicious, delightful dancing night. The importance of acknowledging our familial and dance legacies is an essential tradition. And in keeping with the tradition, I recognize my Indigenous brothers and sisters as a first step in moving toward action. With profound respect, I honor and acknowledge the Lenape, whose stolen land I am zooming from, currently known as the village of Harlem. I am a Black non-disabled woman and I live with my 10-year-old son. I am sitting in my dining room. I have golden hair with close natural curls. I am wearing a red sleeveless top with a black jacket over it, and of course my big BDS sterling silver hoop earrings. I am the granddaughter of Lucille Madison, a wise and giving English professor. I teach because of her. Daughter of Ronald Augustus Fowlin, Jamaican warrior and gourmet chef, and Anne Fowlin, rebel and Renaissance woman. I dance because of them. My son Tamayo keeps me present as I witness this growing boy. I am in awe of his amazing talents and his blossoming spirit. And with that, I turn it over to Makeda.
Hi, everyone. My name is Makeda Lily Nwabunkosi Margie Rose Roney. I am in this human experience as an able-bodied Black Indigenous American woman. Pronouns she, her, and they in acknowledgement of my ancestors and spirit team that is all around me, and that is also me. I come from a long generational line of artists and energetic intuitives, both on my maternal and paternal lines, the Love Roney line. which extends through so many amazing, powerful people, names, and ancestors that I send my love and gratitude to every day, even just by being here. I am the daughter of Nia Love and Antoine Roney, which his birthday is today. I am the sister of Kojo Roney, Zipporah Roney, and Takwazi Love, all of us beautiful, powerful artists. I am Zooming from Harlem, which was respectfully and harmoniously occupied by the Lenape pre-white settlership. I am a life, body, soul alchemist, which I turn ethereal matter into what we call art, poetry, dance, movement, and whatever else my soul is called to channel and express love, light, and truth. I am sitting in my loft bedroom. Behind me is a white wall. I'm wearing a white shirt with cutout sleeves. Hair is up in a bun. I have a pair of gold hoop earrings on and a rose gold Hamsa necklace. And with that, I turn it to Cynthia.
Thank you, Maki. I am so blessed to be here tonight with this community. I am Cynthia Tate, the BDS publicist. I am the daughter of Walter Tate and Greta Tate from New Orleans, Louisiana. I acknowledge that I am on stolen Lenape land in Queens, New York. I am a non-disabled Black woman wearing gold earrings, brown framed glasses, red lipstick, and a Xavier University sweatshirt. With that said, I am going to hand that over to Gabe.
Everybody, my name is Gabriel Lee Dekoladenu. I am an able-bodied Black man with the pronouns he, his, him. I am speaking to you guys today from the stolen land of the Patuxent people, currently known as Prince George's County, Maryland. I am the son of William and Diane Dekoladenu, and behind me is a white wall. And I hope you guys enjoy today's talk. And with that, I am going to pass it to Caitlin.
Caitlin, are you coming? No.
Well, in that case, I'm going to actually pass it to Monica.
You're muted, Monica.
Thank you. I am Monica L. Williams. I am the Chief Curator and Director of Programs from 651 Arts. I go by the pronouns of she, her. I am currently on the stolen land of the Lenape people in Harlem, USA. And I am wearing a beige and red scarf and beige and white glasses. I am the daughter of Casina, the daughter of Jewel, and the daughter of Mama Effie. And I am very, 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 very happy to be here. And with that, I will pass it to Omar.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Omar Ingram. He, him, his pronouns. I am the firstborn son of Reverend Dr. Tony Beelan Ingram and Raymond Ingram, coming to you from the Piscataway lands.
So I want to share that community is such a big part of Black Dance Stories, obviously. So we want to know who is watching tonight. Like this video, drop some comments in the chat, say hello, where you're watching from. Feel free to engage and ask questions, and share some love. Also, please follow us on our social media. Our Instagram is @BlackDanceStories. Our Twitter is @BLKDanceStories. Both of our Instagram and Twitter links they should be in the chat and also in the description. And most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have a huge goal of making it to 1,000 subscribers, and we're almost there, but we can't do that without your help and your community. So please subscribe, follow us, and share with your community. We also have a subscriber Sunday, so look out for that on our social media and email. a day where we illuminate our amazing community and encourage more people to be a part of this growing community. So we want to thank everyone for your continual love and support. And without further ado, everyone grab yourself some water, wine, tea, your cup of happy, and let's cheers to Black Dance Stories.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And I pass it to Kimani.
Thank you. So I just want to quickly say that we have Makeda Smith, who is our digital media director, and Caitlin Chandler, who is the video tech expert. Please consider interning with us. You see this amazing family, come be a part of it. And I'd also like to say, this is a time where donations are greatly needed. So consider this like a night out. Well, actually, watching the screen is the night out right now. But please, we want to keep going until we don't have to, and your donations mean everything to us. So with that, I want to say that we will always stay vigilant. Our BDS team will continue to stand in solidarity with our sisters and brothers all over the world, with all those who want an immediate end to racial violence and systemic racism. And with that, I pass it to Charmaine.
Thank you, Kimani. I don't want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. Those of you who are watching that trial, stay strong, everybody. Stay strong. Keep your eyes wide open and make sure you know what's going on around you, all around you. The BDS family is here and we will listen. All right, folks. Kimani, Makeda will come back later, but we say goodbye to the rest of the team because here comes Robert Battle.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Come on in, Robert. Come on in, Robert. Cheers. You're muted. Cheers.
Story of my life. I'm always muted. Cheers.
Well, you can't do cheers and not take a sip. Did you take a sip? Okay, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Charmaine. I am.
Look at us.
Look at us. Look at us. Here we are. You know.
Here we are. So introduce yourself and talk about some things.
I will. You know, that term "I am" is so much to me. I'm thinking about that as everybody introduced themselves, knowing that we are so many things that are not in our bio, right? And so, in the spirit of that, I am on the stolen land of the Wapengura. I am a man. I think about one of the last things that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the last things that he was involved in, of course, was the sanitation workers and the I Am a Man movement about the dignity of the Black man. I am Robert Battle, the artistic director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I am here because I'm standing on shoulders. My mother always recited this poem. She had a group called the Afro-Americans. Her real job, as we say, was an English teacher for many years. Her name is Desi Williams. She still lives in Liberty City. If people have seen Moonlight, then they know what I'm talking about. And she is still there. But in the spirit of I am, I will recite these words that she always said by Mari Evans. I am a Black woman. The music of my song is some sweet arpeggio of tears written in a minor key. And I can be heard humming in the night, can be heard humming in the night. When I was a young kid, you know, I was kind of taken in. We didn't say the term adopted in terms of when it's in family. My birth mother is Marie Battle, who's still alive, who lives in Jacksonville, Florida, where I was born. But she was in a situation where she needed help. I was the youngest. My brothers and sisters went to foster care. Eventually she got them back, but my great uncle, who I have a picture of, and I'll do my best to show these photos, but that's him. I'll try to get it out of yeah. His name is Willie Horn. So he is my great uncle, and his wife, Anna Smallhorn, they took me in. They came to my birth mother and said, I was 3 weeks old, and said, let us take this child and raise him. And they spent the whole day talking about it. And finally she said yes. I was born completely bow-legged, and they had to get me braces for my legs. They had to do all of this. Meanwhile, my great uncle and great aunt are in the winter of their years. And here I come, right? And so not only did I learn how to get my legs straight, learned how to walk, and then walking wasn't enough. I had to stop and dance. And so that's a part of my story. I am delighted to share my story because I think that when we share our stories, we bless other people that we don't even know, right? And so I'll tell a couple of things and I'll try to keep it short. You know, I grew up in the church, right? Where the preacher, when he said, now I'm going to bring it to a close, that meant you had about 45 more minutes of that sermon. And I have that in me. But we moved to Miami because I was 5 years old, and we moved to Miami because my great aunt had a stroke. And we moved to Miami with their daughter so that she could sort of help take care of her mother, who of course is now my mother. And she died in 1979, my great aunt. But her daughter, who's Desi Williams that I was talking about, was the artistic person in the family. She was the odd one out. She was the one who had a group called the Afro-Americans going around and performing in community centers. She played piano, that's why this piano is behind me, for the church that we grew up in. She was a church pianist. So all of that, of course, whet my appetite to become the artist that I am today. She was dramatic, and she is dramatic, let me tell you. Sometimes because, of course, she knew all the Shakespeare, all of it. She would wake me up in the morning. She would pull the curtains and she would go, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools away to dusty death. Wake up, Robert. And so, you know, I still pay a therapist. But I just have to say that some of the things that she taught me is still so relevant to the life I'm living today. I know that my steps are guided. I know that. I think about how much I have admired her. You know, I didn't just see her as my mother. I was a fan. When she would recite poetry, she was Viola Davis. She was tall as a cypress to me. And so watching her as a shy child, my mother said, you never said a word. I didn't even know you were listening to anything that I had to say. Years later, when I'm on stage reciting things that she said, and quote, she's going like, you were listening to that? I was like, not only listening, I was recording it, not knowing, or maybe knowing, that I would need it to where I am today. And so I'm going to fast forward because it was only 20 minutes. They got me piano lessons because they discovered that I had an ear for music. And I was a soprano singer in the choir, believe it or not the bass baritone that you see before you. And I tell this story because it's so important to me. My piano teacher, her name was Juanita Hurd. I'm going to go fast now. And she was very dramatic. She wore the hair wrap thing. She smoked those little skinny cigarettes. She had nails, and she kind of in a really awfully loud car that just embarrassed everybody you knew when she was coming. She gave me piano lessons every Sunday. Years later, I get involved in dance because I see a performance of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in my hometown, and that made me want to dance. So I get into the Juilliard School, blah, blah, blah. And I remember coming home from Juilliard, and I hadn't been, of course, studying with her because I had gotten to dance. And I heard that she had cancer and that her health was failing. And so I remember that she had asked my mother if I could come to her house. I'd never been to her house to wash her windows. That's just the type of person she was. She was like always, putting you in your place. So I, the Juilliard, whatever I am, I go, to wash the window. She's not there. Her husband drives up with her in a car, and she was more of a robust person. And she got out of the car. She was this skinny with cancer. And I'd never seen that as a young person because I was intimidated by her. And then all of a sudden I felt this sense of, wanting to take care of her. She looked me in the eye when she stumbled out of the car and said, "You don't have time to look at me. You need to finish these windows because I'm not going to pay you if they're not done before the sun goes down." Okay. So this began this relationship of me taking her to the bank, her holding onto my arm. One day she calls me, she says, "Come and pick me up. I want to take you to the shopping center." So we went to either JCPenney's or Macy's. I don't know. It depends on who's sponsoring Ailey. But she takes me, the story is fluid, right? But she takes me to the store and she buys me 5 suits. She's so out of breath because she's holding on to some. Every time I came out with a suit on, she said, "Let's get it." I go home and my mother calls her and says, "Miss Hurd, this is wonderful, but why are you buying him all of these suits?" And she said, "Someday he's going to be meeting kings and queens and presidents, and he's going to need a suit." I fast forward from that moment to, I can't remember what year it is, but probably my 3rd year or so, 4th as director of the Ailey Company. And the White House called under Obama to say that they would like me to come and receive the Medal of Freedom for Alvin Ailey, who was rewarded posthumously. I go to the White House, and I remember when I was standing up there, I know I get emotional talking about it, standing up there with the first Black president, Obama, with Judith Jamison sitting in the front row, Masazumi Chaya. And I remembered that she said, "He's going to need a suit." And I can't tell you how powerful that moment was. It reminded me of my great uncle, right, who was born in 1903, who suffered Jim Crow and all of the other ills of racism. I think about my mother, who wanted and should have been an actress. But at that time, Black women, look on me and be renewed. There it is. And I have to just tell you, this is my mother's hymn book. So I had a habit of stealing. When I go home, I just take things, and she knows. She's like, "Do not take my pick. Do not take this," because I just, this is her old hymn book when I was a kid that she would play from. And the first hymn that you see, I'm trying to move it into where, well, forget it. You can't get it's a white page. It's Blessed Assurance. And you know that the chorus of that is, "This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all day long. So I always remembered that. And so when I was approached by Simon and Schuster, I'm not signifying, I'm just telling my story, to that they wanted to do a children's book. They named the children's book My Story, My Dance, because of that hymn that my mother always played. So I am.
I think you want to show us around the house a little bit.
I do.
Yes.
I do. So this is a wonderful room in my house. I forgot to say where I was. I'm not wearing earrings, but I am wearing glasses. And occasionally I can see out of them. So I will just do this because, you know, Sylvia Waters, if people don't know the legend Sylvia Waters, who danced with Alvin Ailey, was his confidant and company for many years, and who first really brought me into the fold when she had me do a work for Ailey 2 in 1999. But she gave me this on my 40th birthday. You see up top there, it's wonderful xylophone. And that belonged to Alvin Ailey himself. So I have, this is my music room, my piano room, I call it, where I have all of these wonderful things that, and so I'm gonna switch over here and grab these 3 wonderful artifacts. So as she said, Alvin Ailey, when he was on the road, he was always picking up tchotchkes and all kinds of things. And so this belonged to him. This little guy who I can totally relate to, but I won't tell you why. And then this, right? And what else can I show you? And then I have to say that when my first season as artistic director, I brought in Paul Taylor. You know, Carolyn Adams is a mentor and sister friend, you know, of mine. She taught me at Juilliard, and then I hired her at Ailey when I became the director, and what a thrill that was to hire a teacher. And so when I started, I thought I wanted to pay homage to a lot of things, right? And Alvin was a fan of Paul's work, and so Paul was so generous with me because he knew what I was stepping into. And so Paul Taylor had this habit of, you know, collecting butterflies, and he knew how to do all that with them. You know, I'm not that person, but he gave me this one Christmas, and he wrote on the back here, and I'll read it. It says, "It's a tiger swallowtail. Merry Christmas to Robert with high admiration from Paul." That was, I believe, 2012. So this room has my, of course, great uncle in it, has my mother, who I haven't shown you, really quickly. So that's she and I when, did it come into focus a little? Yeah, that's when the book came out. And so this room for me, if I need a sense of groundedness, healing, you know, when that negative review comes out and gives you some doubt, I come to this room to remember that I've already been raised, right? And so as Maya Angelou said once, she says that her mother told her before she went out into the world, she said to her, "Maya, remember that you've been raised. Don't allow anybody to raise you or invent you. You've been raised." I remember that when I come across something that pushes back at me and attempts to tell me that the I am doesn't matter. And it centers me and it gives me the strength and courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, I learned. It's the presence of fear, but the audacity to do it anyway. That I got from my great uncle, who only made it to 3rd grade because his parents died and he had to take care of his siblings. He did it anyway. He brought me up, right? And he had wonderful sayings, and I will give you one of them. you know, my great uncle was typical of men of a certain time. He was a deacon in the church. You know what I'm saying? And when he got mad, he would fire off a litany of sayings. But one of them he would say is, boy, be that what you is, not what you ain't. I never understood that because in my small-minded thinking, I thought, what do you mean? I don't have money, but I want to, so that's not what I is, you know, like whatever. But what he was saying is, be true to yourself. And I finally got it. And one of the other things he used to say, and I think about this a lot now because of the world that we're in, where things are, you know, churning. He said, boy, you can be slow, but then you can be too slow. And you can be fast, but then you can be too fast. And he would just leave it like that. He would never explain it, but I get it now. I get it now. Do you know what I mean? It grounds me. It grounds me. It really does. I mean, I think that one of the things of growing up in the church, I wanted to be a preacher. That was really, other than wanting to be a fireman, I wanted to be a preacher. I'm sure that there's a connection somehow with the fireman and the preacher and the artistic director, right? Sometimes you're putting out fire, sometimes you're inspiring with the word, right? But either way, and so I used to, as a kid, put on my bathrobe, and my great uncle, he was one of those people who taped the sermon with his cassette player. I would learn the sermon, I put on my bathrobe, which, you know, and I would preach the sermon. I would take collection from fake people. Nobody was there. But my job isn't that different.
Oh my gosh. I could just see you in rehearsal preaching the sermon.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, Robert, of course, more and more. But now it's time for Angie. But Angie, come in, and y'all have a lot of people watching. Here
Yeah.
are just a few. Victoria Yang, Kenneth Prado, Jacob Penate, Henry Lee, Carlos Arizu, Ann Davison, hey Ann, Tia Shank, Pooja Vasar, Kayla Dolder, Vincent Thomas, hey Vincent, Morgan Connor, Brianna Green, Emil Lennox, Vanessa Gottlieb, Wendy Perrin, and Joe Malillo's out there too.
Oh, wow.
Come on, y'all got fans. So listen, cheers, and I'm gonna sit back and watch you two get in trouble. I see you in a minute. Have fun.
Thank you, Mama Charmaine. I feel like we could just end the episode there. I was sitting here just like, wow, receiving.
Oh, thank you. Thank
That
you.
was incredible. Thank you for sharing.
I'm just glad I had props and
You
you know.
You had props, you had anecdotes, you had everything.
Oh, no. And look, we got,
Yeah,
you know,
we both have I love it.
yeah. But I looked at some of your work coming into this. It's really quite beautiful. It was, a recent one, because you had Mass. It was a duet on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a piece that I'm calling Silver and Sun.
Yes.
And I did it with my friend Amber Hopkins. And yeah, we just did it like a month ago at the Chocolate Factory.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
How
Yeah.
are you doing all
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about how much, just listening, we have so much in common and growing up in church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while I was listening, I was wondering, I was like, what was your favorite hymn? And you eventually were talking about Blessed Assurance. And I was just like, wow.
But my great uncle's, his was Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior, Pass Me Not, O Gentle. You know, that was his jam, because that's when you heard his voice. Sometimes on pitch, but you know. What was yours?
Mine, actually, I did a piece called Leaning,
Hmm.
and it was based on my relationship to leaning on the everlasting
Oh
arms.
yeah, that's yeah,
And yeah, and it was all about I mean, it was about a lot of things, but it was really I started the piece leaning against a
yeah,
wall physically and just really thinking about feeling my black womanhood and feeling this in between of resting and being active in a space
yeah,
and like leaning as an action, as a choreography of black womanhood ancestry, black femmehood, that I felt like was this like survival mechanism.
mm,
Leaning on something that's bigger than you, that's structural,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So yeah, leaning, that yeah, church.
Right, right. It's there. It's so, and I don't usually get to talk about it that much because you're usually doing short form interview, quick soundbite. So I didn't expect to talk about it that much, but it yeah. So
Well, it's also, it felt like for it's so incredible to hear when I hear black people talk about church because it was so formative for me. Like I
yeah,
spent 3 or 4 days a week in church. You know, that's where I learned most of what I feel about the world today.
right.
And I think in this process of me, um, you know, growing and changing and training, I had to relearn that that this is home, you know, that
Yeah,
church was home, that all of everything that I learned about relationships and mentorship and song and queerness was all really like in church.
yeah, yeah.
um yeah, so there was a process of relearning or yeah, re-embracing.
Mm. Yeah, and because my great uncle was the deacon, but he also mowed the lawn and it was like that. And then my mother's, of course, running the choir. So I was always there, you
Mhm.
know. And when he would mow the lawn, I could go and where I wasn't supposed to go, which is, behind the, you know what I mean? Up on the pews, the thing, and then behind yeah. And so that's where I was like, I want to do this.
Mhm.
But maybe I am, in some way. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
I do.
yeah, yeah.
I think you are. I'm also fangirling out a little bit over here. I think you're doing it.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I
Can I
appreciate
tell you about the first time I met you?
it. Uh-oh. Yes,
I think I have to share this because
yes.
it's like, but it was right. I remember I did like an ADF New York intensive or something, and was it at Ailey? But it
Probably.
was the summer that you had just, or this winter, you had just taken over,
Mm-hmm.
you become the artistic director,
Mm-hmm.
and you had just like transitioned from like battle works into, and I just remember being a student, like that was like 10 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being a student. And I think actually that time I took class from Maria Bauman. That's where I first met Maria Bauman Morales. And I just remember you coming in and talking to like the little dance children about your, and yeah, so that was my first
Wow.
introduction to you and your work, and it's just feels so crazy to be now in conversation with you
Yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah.
different conversation.
Yeah, because Jerry Houlihan, of course, was
Yes.
huge, mentor, teacher. Yeah, so wow, isn't it amazing though how you know, I don't know, it makes me feel a little old. No, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't, you know what? That's one thing I've never minded aging. And because I've always been an old soul because of the people who raised me. So I'm so fine with it, except I can't see and all that. But how amazing. You know what I always love when people say, remember, I met you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, I hope I was kind, like that is important to me when somebody said, "Oh, you took the time to."
Mhm.
I always think about that, and I did. Sorry, I'm not going to go on too long, but I had gotten an honorary doctorate, and you talk to the students, right? Yeah, I got a B of them, and then they stopped coming. But I was saying to the students that, and it was, and I really meant it. I made it into a joke because that's my way in the world, is humor. But I was saying that it's not only important to know who the artistic director, the CEO is, but to be kind to the security guard and to the janitor and to, because they all have something in common. They all have keys, right? And that was one thing I learned early on, that everybody deserves to be treated with respect. And when I see people who only say, well, they look at your badge, who are you? Oh, should I be nice to you? Should I give you that? I always see that as a real sign of character or not. So I say that to say I'm always happy when somebody says, "Oh, I met you, were nice." I'm like, thank goodness it wasn't a bad day. Okay. I'm kidding. But
You were
where are
so
you
kind.
from?
I am from Northern Virginia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm from, yeah, I don't know. Also, it's also hard to say where I'm from because I'm like, am I from there?
Right,
Who
right.
knows where I'm from,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, I do know. I do know I'm from Northern Virginia. My mother and my dad, actually, my mother went to Howard University,
Hmm.
and my dad moved to that area of the country, and they
Yeah.
met there, and then they just stayed.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm from that area.
yeah, yeah. When you say you're from Miami, people are like, what does that mean? Just, I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, I know you have to do your thing. Where's everybody? Did they leave?
Where is everybody? Mama Charmaine dipped out. Where are the adults?
Where are
Yeah,
the?
no. Thank you. I
No,
really
thank you.
just thank you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was so going like, why do I have to go first? I don't know. Broccoli.
Bring me back. Bring
Oh,
me
I see.
back. Bring me back.
Oh.
There she is. She's
You heard me?
Oh, there you are.
Leaning,
Leaning
leaning
on the
on the
everlasting
everlasting
arms.
arms. Leaning. I don't know the rest of the words.
So many verses.
Leaning on these. All right, in church.
Ooh, I have a
We have
tambourine. Wait, we have a choir.
Wait, what was your mom's song, Robert? Because that one I know a little bit.
Blessed
What was your mom?
Blessed assurance.
Let's do that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shore. Jesus is mine.
Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of salvation, purchase of God. You see me looking at the book.
You got the handbook.
Born of His Spirit,
Red, washed in his blood. Wait, this is my story. This is my song.
praising my Savior,
Praising my Savior.
all the day long.
All the day long.
This is my story.
This is my story. This is my song.
Praising my Savior.
Praising my Savior.
All the day
All
long.
the day long. Look at us. Wait a minute, I have an instrument too.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay,
Thank you
that
for
was
that
a
quiet
moment.
directing.
That was fun.
Okay, Tendaya is here, a real singer.
Ah!
Probably shut us down. Just saying. Bruce Alexander is there, and Akua Kuyade is here, and there are more people. All right, Robert,
I'm out.
freshen up your drink and come back. See you in a minute.
Okay.
Welcome, Angie.
Hi.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Introduce yourself
Wow.
and tell us a little something, something.
I will. I will. I'm just so honored to be here. I'm so, so honored to be here. Again, I'm so honored to be here. Meeting, meeting people I've been fans of and just being in conversations. Like, oof. I'm just gonna take a moment on that, take a beat, because there's always a pause. My name is Angie Pittman. A little visual description for those of you who might need. I am a Black woman wearing a gray sweater with a cowl neck. I'm wearing a Janet mic or Britney Spears mic, whoever whoever you're subscribing to these days, on my face. I have bleach blonde locks with black roots. I'm wearing a black lip for formality purposes. I was watching Cynthia Oliver's episode and she had on a red lip. I was like, let me put on a lip. I am in a corner. There's some light pouring here. I'm in front of a bookshelf here that has anatomy coloring book, Black Futures, this book that just came out. Paradox of Blackness and African American Vampire Fiction. And there's also some photos of my ancestors, my grandmother's up here, and maybe I'll show them since Robert showed some photos. I'll show them later. I'm gonna move my tambourine. I am zooming from the Midwest currently. I have notes because they will ground me in this moment. Yes, I am zooming from the Midwest, the ancestral lands of Kickapoo, Peoria, Kaskia, Payonkasha, Potawatomi, Chickasaw, Miami, and Muskogee nations. I call Brooklyn, New York home, the ancestral lands of the Lenape people. I am a daughter to Joyce Pittman and Larry Pittman. Joyce Pittman is the woman who took me to church all those days growing up. Whew, Joyce Pittman is the daughter. I'm the granddaughter to Viney Lee Henderson, and this is actually her. Ooh, hello. Hey, this is also her here. Viney Lee Henderson. Viney Lee Henderson lived in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. My mom is from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is the ancestral land of Cherokee folk people. And Tennessee, Oak Ridge, Tennessee is also, there's been multiple intersections of just, I want to say colonialism. Oak Ridge, Tennessee is, I'm particularly thinking about its nickname as the Atomic City. In the 40s, it was actually a site for, the government decided that it was going to be a site for the Manhattan Project. Everything's shifting. Thank you, ancestors, shifting things. So this is, Oak Ridge, Tennessee is actually a place where they built a lot of the materials for the atomic bombs in that decade. And actually they picked, this sort of empire picked this place because they assumed that they thought that it was like sort of low population and it was hidden, and that it would be easily sort of colonized for this particular project. So I just wanted to shout out Oak Ridge, Tennessee. My people are from there. And just sort of naming that violence, that recolonization, that's what they do. So yes, my mother's Joyce Pittman. Her mother is Viney Lee Henderson. My granddaddy Renfro loves a drink. So I'm going to take a drink for him. Although it's not alcohol, he would not be into that. Loved him dearly. I'm a granddaughter to Carmencita Rosalita Pittman, who is my paternal grandmother. I am an auntie. I'm a mother to no one, but an auntie to Carmen and Harmony. Actually, I'm a mother to myself, my inner child. Yeah, so I feel like my auntiness is a real identity for me. So I really appreciate my nibblings coming into this earth. They are identical twins. They are the cutest beings I've ever seen. They do gymnastics. They do the middle splits. More flexible than me than I've ever been. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Where am I? Yeah, I also I had such a hard time answering where am I from when Robert asked me, but I think there's like a little Sun Ra Ian in me about identifying as like from the cosmos as well. So I think like that's actually what I wanted to say, but then I was like, Northern Virginia. So yeah, both of those things. I'm from also there. I am a dancer, a dance maker. I'm a dancer who really likes to rest. I'm a dancer who really likes to pause. A dancer who really likes to listen and move and react and support. I'm a dancer who cares about dance, like it's really hard for me not to care. Yeah, it's really hard for me not to care. And I really do care. And that's one thing that I thought about talking about today was just care as a Black feminist practice that I make choices around a lot, and how I feel ancestrally care has been a thing that my ancestors naturally did and were forced to, caring for other people's babies, caring for land, so, and I think as a liberated soul and as a liberated person today, I'm here because of them, and I'm here because of their care, and I am appreciating that I can make choices about what I care about and who I care about, and how I am careful in this world. So all that to say is I care about dance. And I mostly learned how to care about dance through church. So it's so funny that Robert brought up church because that's so much of my story too. So we're going to talk about church some more again. And I grew up in it was like a Pentecostal Baptist. It was technically a non-denominational church, but it did have all of these roots in the South. My mom grew up in church in the South, and she, in her church, she shouted. So in our church growing up, we also shouted, which is dancing. And my mom told me the story of like, she had a bunch of siblings, and they would just like shut the church down with their shouting. And she was just like, one time she shouted, hit the wall, and then like danced back the other way and kept going. So in my church, I grew up around the spirit, people catching the spirit, people ushering the spirit, spirit moving, people singing the spirit. That's where my first dance training was in church. I was in the choir. I was an alto. I'm not a good singer, but I can hum. I can hum, and I really appreciate singing. So I was an alto. So I performed in the choir, but all of my dance practices were in praise dancing, liturgical dancing, which is I'm just gonna keep. I don't need to explain. I'm just gonna keep talking. I always like have this thing of like needing to explain, but also if you don't get it, that's fine, and if you do get it, that's fine. Anyway, so I danced on the praise dance team. My church had a hip hop team, so that's where we danced to like Kirk Franklin, and the like. People would be upset about that, but you know, Kirk Franklin has some good music. Step team. My church also had a step team. So I tried out on the step team. So all of these things, I also, yeah, acted a little bit, you know, reenacting the resurrection, reenacting Easter Sunday, you know, all of these things. So really all of my like what I know about performance, I practiced for years in church. And yeah, I always like lift up scholar, fellow churchgoer Ashon Crowley, who has a lot of academic writing about the Black Pentecostal breath. And when I found his work, I found like a little bit of affirmation around the power of church and sort of what is happening. So this is why I'm speaking so many words to it, because the Black church is powerful, and it definitely did a lot for me. Yeah, I'm gonna pause. Great. um, I had another thought, but it left. I'm looking at this card and I'm remembering that I'm an Aries. That's also information for my story. I'm an Aries, I'm a Leo rising, and a Cancer moon. And my birthday is actually tomorrow, which is so exciting. I made it to 31, which is, yeah, incredible, I think. I think, and like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be in conversation. I'm happy to turn another year older. I'm a list maker. Can I read like some lists that I made? I was like, what am I going to talk about? But I'm a list. I'm just going to read some lists. I know reading is, listening to someone read is a situation, but I've been thinking about this word experimental a lot. As like, I think it's, you know, we latch on to words to like give our identity meaning, or be like, that's who I am. Black woman, that's who I am. That feels good. Oh, does it feel good? Okay, whatever. I'm going to shift it. So our identities can shift and change as we go, you know, y'all know. But this like identity as like experimental has always stayed around. So I'm like, oh, what is that? And there's something about being on the fringes, you know, on the fringes of a movement, or on the fringes of like heat of like what's hot right now, or what's cute, like the celebriqueer, or like, you know, what is like excellent, you know. I'm like, like the heat is a lot sometimes, so I always like to position myself on the on the boundaries, on the edges. So I think I wanted to name that as well. Like, I am an experimental artist, that I like to position myself. I like to position myself on the outside sometimes, because I can exit quickly if I need to, or I can get in quickly if I need to. So there's something about this like astral projection way of being, like sort of having perspective, in order to like know what you need what is needed of the situation. Yeah, and I also, and as I'm like telling my story, I'm also like denouncing this sort of like expectation of excellence that I feel like I've inherited a lot, or that I try and like sometimes it comes up really intense, like I got to be great. I got to be excellent because you need to. And I'm like, I don't though, I really don't. And that's really exciting. I am going to be, because I think Black people are excellent, but I don't have to be. So I think oh, there's a doggy barking. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Yeah, so I'm sort of adopting this like anti-excellence way to like, oh, do this gesture to like ease the heart or the pressure to be. And also I'm trying to honor the work of my ancestors that have allowed me to be on this earth, on this plane, making these choices that I am, and as being liberated and out here, and so I often find myself in that tension of like, whatever it's going to be, whatever. And also I'm like listening listening here. So I find myself in that tension oftentimes. And tensions, it's sometimes you need to escape them, but sometimes in that particular one, I'm just noticing and being okay with noticing that.
I'm here.
Yay.
I haven't gone anywhere.
You haven't gone anywhere.
No. Let's bring Robert back.
Great.
And there are more people here, but first of all, somebody wants to hear the list again. But come on back,
great.
Robert. And then read the list. But then,
okay, great.
Yeah, go ahead, read the list.
Dance mentors: Amanda Kinzer, Marilyn Marloff, Megan Thompson, Cynthia Oliver, Mama Charmaine, Nia Love, Terry O'Connor, Donna Uchizono, Ralph Lemon, Maria Bauman Morales, Carrie-Amu Welsh, via Baba Kamal Nance. And I'm in conversation with currently Maria Bauman Morales, Jasmine Hearn, Anna Sperber, Amber Hopkins, Larissa Velez Jackson, Anais Mavel, and Devin Emery. That's the list I wrote.
That's a big list. I know we're going to come back and come to you, Robert, to ask if you have names that we haven't gotten to. But when we were chatting yesterday, I said, the last time I saw you physically was when you ran across the stage at City Center when there were, I forget. Remember? That was your cameo, and they were bringing back all the
Ella.
Yes.
Yes.
And it just reminded me what Angie just said, position myself on the outside. Angie, there were all kinds of other Ellie dancers that came on stage, rehearsed, and then Robert just runs across the stage during Ella. Clearly did not rehearse.
Yes.
But it's him on the outside, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Does that sit with you?
It totally sits with me. I've always occupied that space in a way and have never felt more inside when I'm outside in a certain way. Observant, anytime that was beautiful, by the way, Angie.
Thank you.
Anytime that I was saying this to somebody, that anytime I would like go and have imaginary time as a kid, when I would imagine myself performing for thousands of people and stuff, I would have to either get on my roof in Miami, get on the roof or in the mango tree, so that I was high above the ground, so that I felt that I was kind of seeing it, overseeing it. And at Juilliard, I knew how to get onto the roof of the dorm. You weren't
Wow.
supposed to be able to, but I knew a certain staircase that had a door that the alarm didn't go off. I'm a Virgo. So, and I would get on the roof and I'd bring my Maya Angelou poetry book and I would learn poems. But it was my way of so I totally get that outside, that idea.
And ancestral projection is what Angie also called that, what you both talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly. Go ahead, Angie.
No, I just love also what you just said about being able to see. I think that's also a way, if you're like in it, you can't quite like see what's going on around you. But if you just like take a little step back, you can see the full picture. You know?
Yeah. Oh,
and that relates to safety for me too.
We kinfolk then. That's totally. That was
no kidding.
Safe place is, a little bit perched, observing, and then figuring out when. I remember in the mind is going. At Juilliard in humanities class, you're in a circle. Usually, I'm just going to be honest here because we're telling stories, right?
That's right.
I usually hadn't read the book that was assigned. Didn't read Bhagavad Gita, didn't read the whole thing. But what I was able to do well is observe. So I always knew what the teacher wanted us to get from the book based on the conversation about it. So I would wait and I would listen to the students talk, the ones who are goody two-shoe, they read the book. And so I'd listen, but I could always tell what he hoped that we got. And then when the time was right, so that was my perch. When the time was right, like an eagle or, I'd go in and I'd say, the way that I relate this to dance is that blah, blah, blah. And then choreography, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, yes. And I go like, you know what I'm saying? Like some people just like to just tell, and my great uncle, again, one of his saying was, boy, he always started with boy. He's like, tell some of what you know, but not all of what you know.
Come on.
Wisdom.
Yes.
Okay, there was another one from Angie. Expectation of excellence.
Mm.
That was a heavy one.
It's a lot.
In this skin, can we expound on that a little bit more? No, wait, in this Black dance skin, even though you said we know we are excellent, but this expectation of excellence.
Mm.
There wasn't even a question there, but go back to it, Angie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from needing to. I think it comes from a lot of things. But I think I think it comes from a place where growing up in a place where you didn't actually get, like in terms of resources, having what you need. We didn't have enough money growing up. It wasn't enough to sort of sustain us. We were, we were who we are and we were fine, but there wasn't enough, and I'm like, right. So I think coming from that place where resources are a little bit scarce and resources are thin, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do something, I got to do it. And I have to be excellent at it. And I feel like I've had uncles I tell like an uncle that I'm a dancer or whatever. And he's like, oh, you must be good, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't need to be, it's of course, but it's like, it's just that like, that tension of like needing to be great, but also like, I can choose, you know what I mean? I don't need to be.
Yeah.
Your turn, Robert. It's a
Expectations of excellence. I will say, although my mother was a teacher, I was very grateful she didn't teach English at the school that I went to. She taught for high school, like for seniors. But even still, you know, I go back to those primary moments. If I came home with a C, she never said, why wasn't it a B? Why wasn't it an A? I mean, I'll say this. There was a part of me that always knew that I'll just get by here because I don't really like all of this, but I know I have to do it, and I'll learn what I need to take from it,
Yes.
and then I'll use it when I need it. But I don't need to be the star student, and I don't need the A and all of that. I need to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can get this out of the way so I can do my work. So because she didn't put that pressure on me and all of that, and this may not relate exactly to what you're saying, but I'm just remembering that I never felt this pressure in terms of things that I wasn't passionate about. I just got what I needed from it and I left the rest. And my mother was not a stage mom, although she was a stage mom on the stage, but not on the stage I was. You know, it was almost like up to you. How well you want to do it, how far you want to go, that's up to you.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I remember is when I was heading to New York to go to Juilliard, she put all these notes into my suitcases and all of that stuff. She didn't even tell me. I would like find notes, like, what's this note? One note was, and I think I just, don't look up at the buildings and be staring because people will know you're not from there, and then they'll rob you. You know, so I spent my first couple of years just looking with the lids, like, you know, you know, and then, but one thing she wrote was, remember, your talent is what got you there, and your talent is what will keep you there. I didn't know why she said it until someone tried to infer that it was only because of affirmative action that I had my scholarship and I was there. I don't know how that relates. And I was talking to some folks recently about that interaction I had. And then I said, wow, through all of that, the artistic director, only the third of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, that is affirmative and that is action. So guilty as charged.
Whoa. Wow, I didn't expect that, but okay. Guilty as charged. Well, listen, we got a compliment from Tendai. She said we sounded beautiful.
Oh, that means everything.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Expectation of excellence.
Yeah.
Bruce Alexander said, and this is to both of you, what do you care for the church most in dance?
Can you say that again?
What do you care for the church most in dance? I'm not sure I understand, but do you?
I can interpret that.
Okay, good.
I think. Church most in dance. What do you care for the church most in dance? I could just answer.
Yeah, go for it.
I think what I cared for most in the church for in dance is this like I think I had like I got my sense of weight and groundedness in my movement from praise dancing because there was such like a focus on the upward, like, you know, to sort of display something that's bigger than myself, or like, you know, the heavens above me, whatever is above and whatever is below. In church, sometimes we would talk about what was below us, but we always talked about what was above us. So I think that sort of positionality really helped my weightedness. So when it was time to go to the floor or do the floor work, I was like, oh, cool. Like I can get down. Yeah.
Robert?
Wow. I mean, I think the same thing, is the notion of weight, the notion that the dance, if you will, I mean, just the notion of when I think of the fans, you know, when I think of Revelations,
Yeah.
when I think of the sense of weight, when I think of that
Mhm.
motif of the sun in the back. But that motif is really about the world through which our ancestors, our great grandmothers all lived, and that
Mhm.
they brought to the church. You know, that in that first motif in Revelations of I've been rebuked and I've been scorned.
Mm.
And when you, Angie, spoke about, we talked about what was below the ground, but also what was above the sky. And that duality, and
Mhm.
then what us being in the center of that is truly who we are. We
Mm.
are neither angels nor demons. There is something in that space in between that is the truth. And so that's what I think of in terms of how that informs movement and how that informs my feeling about modern dance and how that informs how I feel about being. You
Mm.
know, I am neither, you know, totally confident and I'm not totally a cynic, but I'm somewhere in between that, you know, I reside
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
I'm skewing a question because you just said that. Both of you just said that. Someone asked about the pandemic and the lockdown. And you
Mhm.
know how people keep saying there is a new normal and there was a then?
Mm.
Do you all think about this deeply? Because we are going to be going, Bill T's show almost happened and then it didn't and then it's moved.
Mm.
But 3 of the dancers had COVID, so they had to push the show from last weekend to May.
Mm.
Both of you are in this world. Well, you got a big company, Robert. This
Mhm.
middle space where we are, because we're not officially out of it yet. Lockdown, openness, kitaba. What is that for both of you?
Mm.
I think I think I'm gonna be more true about the reserves of energy that I have in order to commit to the work. I think before lockdown happened, before the pandemics came to our attention more, I was way tired, weary, exhausted, and I think
Mm.
um, yeah, I think something that I have learned is like I just need to be true to what I can offer, and that is only going to help. That's only going to help, and it's definitely going to help me, and it's definitely going to help whoever I want to engage with. So I feel that's one thing I'm carrying myself through is to just be honest with the amount of energy you have to give.
You know, I think of the title of Maya Angelou's first iteration of her life story. And I think it's so apropos to this time that we have, through this tragedy, which is the
Mm.
pandemic, which is COVID-19, two things I think about as a kid. What I always remembered is in elementary school when we were learning to cross the street. And we had a pretend street, you know, that was in the schoolyard. And it was always stop, look, listen.
Mhm.
And so it's mixed blessings in this moment
Oh my gosh.
where I have been traveling and touring since
Mm.
1994 when I graduated and started dancing with David Parsons. I haven't had all that much time to stop, look, listen, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the pandemic, not only, as we know, of COVID, but of injustice.
Yeah.
Stop, look, listen. It reminds me of when I was at Juilliard and I going into my second year where my great uncle died. the man that I saw you. It was just fortunate that I happened to be home for a break and didn't expect him to die, but he, had shortness of breath. That's what we called it then. Nobody called it anything technical. It was shortness of breath. That could have been many of the things.
Right.
He went into the hospital, thought we were going to go home. I decided to go see him later that night. Nobody else did. I said, well, let me see him one more time before he comes home tomorrow. I didn't grow up in a family of hugs and I love yous. It's just, that just wasn't what we did. It didn't mean we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He told me everything. He said, when I took you from your mama, I just wanted to live long enough to see you make something of yourself. And I thanked him for taking me in when I was no bigger than a loaf of bread. As I was leaving, he started to get shortness of breath, which doctors started being called in. He had cardiac arrest. He died that evening. It took me so long to be grateful for the fact that I was there, to stop and look and listen to each other. And then I think about, in this time, what Maya Angelou says, I know why the cage bird sings. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unheard of, but longed for still. His tune is heard on a distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. So within these cages that we find ourselves, I think that we are more connected now than we have been as we have traversed this world.
Robert, you are a preacher.
I was gonna say that.
I was like, which passage is? No, thank you.
So true. Woo, Robert, you had us like,
Wow. But how true though. This place that where we were and where we're gonna be, we have to stop, look, and listen. I'm repeating, but we have to stop, look, and listen right now.
Yes.
And thank you for naming it, Angie, because of both pandemics.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Well, it's that hour. And it's time to say goodbye, but let's do a last cheers.
Yes.
What a sweet time this was.
This was incredible.
Thank you. I'm gonna pass it to Maki and then wait, did we forget anybody? Anything coming up that we should know about? No? Okay. All right, Maki, your turn.
Thanks so much, everyone who was watching and who's been a part of this amazing conversation. A reminder to like and comment on this video and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on our social media so we can continue to grow this beautiful community. Also, a huge thanks to our co-presenting partner, 651 Arts, for helping to make Black dance stories continue to happen. You can check out all the wonderful things they're doing on their social media. Their Instagram is @651arts. So next week is Robert Garland and Tendai Kuumba. So save your Thursday evening to see these two amazing artists, and we'll see you next week.
And like the good congressman said, go on out there, y'all, and get into some good trouble. Cheers. Thanks. See you next week.